If you ache for truth, goodness, and beauty, if you're hungry for a Christianity with substance and strength, if you long for a faith that's big and bold and biblical and all about Jesus Christ, if you're inspired by the idea of one church that has spanned 20 centuries, 24 time zones, and 2 hemispheres, enfolding every race, nation, and language, then you're considering Catholicism. Hey, Happy New Year! Actually, I'm releasing this a couple days before New Year's, but Happy New Year's! Whenever you're listening to this, maybe in the middle of the next summer, who knows? But you're probably looking at a fresh calendar right now if you're listening to this sometime around New Year's, or your phone just rolled over to January 1. But have you ever stopped to think why that date feels so solid and so reliable? Why we all agree on what day it is, no matter if you're in New York or Nairobi, we all know what day it is, right? The calendar, it's part of our infrastructure. It's a fixture that feels fixed. Well, turns out we owe it to a pope, a Catholic pope, who back in the 1500s got fed up with a calendar that was slowly going haywire. And so we fixed it, and not just for the Catholic Church, but for the whole world. And yes, this directly challenges that old story about the Catholic Church being some backward enemy of science. So stick with me, we'll unpack this step by step. Let's start with the old system everybody was using before this pope stepped in. So way back in 45 BC, Julius Caesar, that Julius Caesar, the Roman dictator who got stabbed on the Ides of March, he introduced what's called the Julian calendar. And it was a huge upgrade at the time. It had 365 days in a year, with an extra day that was tacked on every 4 years to account for that fractional bit. Because if you're tracking the position of the sun, the rotation of the earth, and all of that, the year isn't exactly 365 days. So like if you go put a big stick in the ground or a rock or something and you watch the sun travel across the sky, kind of like Stonehenge or something, it will come back to about the same place at the same point every year. But because the year isn't exactly 365 days, over time, the sun doesn't come back to that exact rock or stick in the ground. See, the real solar year, the time it actually takes the Earth to orbit the sun, isn't exactly 365 days and 6 hours. So, right, if you add a leap year every 4 years, 24 hours every 4 years, that would mean that the year is 365 days plus 6 hours. So every 4 years, you have an extra 24 hours, right? Makes sense. But here's the problem. The time it takes to orbit the sun is actually 365 days, 5 hours, and 48 minutes, and about 46 seconds. So the Julian calendar, again, invented by Julius Caesar, who, by the way, named the month of July after himself, was adding about 11 minutes and 14 seconds too much every single year. Now, you think 11 minutes, no big deal in 1 year. But if you let that pile up over centuries, like from Julius Caesar's time all the way to the Renaissance, right? From before the birth of Jesus all the way to, Da Vinci and Michelangelo in the Renaissance, well, then you're talking a lot of time, 11 minutes and 14 seconds every year. So by the 1500s, the Renaissance, the calendar was off by a full 10 days. 11 minutes and 14 seconds a year times 1500 years, the calendar's off by 10 days. And what that meant is the vernal equinox, which is the solstices are the points where the day is either the longest or the shortest, and the equinoxes in the spring and the fall or the halfway points when the length of the night and the length of the day is exactly the same. So the vernal, meaning spring equinox, which is the official start of spring on March 21, after 1,500 years, the vernal equinox was showing up around March 11. So think about that. Seasons were shifting on paper. See, farmers rely on those dates for planting crops. Merchants schedule markets. And for the church, this was a disaster because the date of Easter is tied directly to the equinox. So if you remember the rule from the Council of Nicaea in 325, Easter Sunday is the first Sunday after the first full moon after the vernal equinox. And so if the equinox is drifting backward by 10 days, Easter starts drifting too. Sometimes it's way off from when it should celebrate Christ's resurrection, in sync with the Passover moon and with the renewal of spring. So what you had were parishes in different countries celebrating feasts on different days. And it was chaos for a church that was trying to keep, well, today, 1 billion people united in worship. Imagine planning a worldwide family dinner and nobody agrees on what day it is. And this wasn't just a church problem. It affected taxes, it affected contracts, birthdays, everything. But the church felt it most acutely because time for us isn't abstract. You know, God entered time in the incarnation. The liturgy marks salvation history in real seasons. So yes, sloppy timekeeping starts hitting at the heart of the faith. So anyway, enter Pope Gregory XIII. He was pope between 1572 and 1585, which was a tough time. The Reformation is raging, all of that. But Pope Gregory makes fixing the calendar a priority. So he assembles a team. He's got doctors and mathematicians and astronomers. The key guys are Luigi Lilio, an Italian physician who proposes the math, and Christopher Clavius, a German Jesuit who's basically like a rock star in astronomy. And these aren't monks hiding from the world. Clavius is observing stars from a tower in the Vatican using the latest tools. So Lilio and Clavius come up with a solution that has two parts, and it's brilliant in its simplicity. First, to catch up on those lost 10 days, just skip them. So in October 1582, Thursday the 4th was immediately followed by Friday the 15th. On the calendar, it's Thursday the 4th, and you flip over the calendar the next day, and it says Friday the 15th. Those 10 days on the calendar just disappeared in 1582. Poof, 10 days gone. People went to bed on the 4th, and they woke up on the 15th. In Catholic countries like Italy, Spain, and Portugal, it happens right away. In the Protestant countries, they resist. They wait decades. So Britain doesn't do this switch to make up for to disappear the 10 days until 1752. And when they do, people are rioting the streets yelling, "Give us our 11 days back." True story. People thought that 11 days had been stolen from them, when really what you did is adjust the calendar. So anyway, back to the two guys coming up with this solution for Pope Leo the 13th, Lilio and Clavius. The second part of their solution is to prevent future drift. Because if you just do this one time, it'll happen again in another 1,500 years. So what they did is they kept leap years every 4 years, but with little tweaks. So there are no leap years in century years unless the century is divisible by 400. Did you know that? You think, well, a leap year is every 4 years. It is in the calendar, except if the century is divisible by the number 400. So in the year 1700, 1800, 1900, there are not leap years. But in 2000, yes, because divisible by 400. And making this tweak shaves off just enough extra time to make the calendar accurate to within 1 day every 3,300 years. So that's pretty precise. It's better than most atomic clocks need for everyday life. We won't have this problem again until like the year 5000. I literally could not do this without you, because this show is 100% listener supported. There are no ads, no sponsors. So, if the episodes are helping you to understand the faith, to answer your questions, or draw you closer to historic Catholic Christianity, would you consider becoming a patron? For as little as $5 a month, you'll get every regular episode organized into topical playlists, plus exclusive bonus content, extra conversations, video Q&As, deep dives, live streams, behind the scenes, and more. Just head to patreon.com/considering Catholicism or tap the link in the show notes. Together, we're educating, equipping, and exciting people about the beauty of the Catholic faith. Okay, so why does this matter beyond just trivia? Let's talk about the benefits. And this is where the church versus science myth kind of falls apart. So people love to paint the Middle Ages or the early modern church as this Catholic church of ignorance and darkness that's anti-progress. It's burning books and, afraid of the heavens and all this kind of stuff. But here you've got the Pope funding cutting-edge astronomy. Jesuits like Clavius are leading the charge in math and observation. In fact, Copernicus, who kicked off the whole heliocentric idea, the realization that the Earth goes around the sun rather than the other way around, Copernicus was a Catholic canon who dedicated his book to the Pope. The Vatican had its own observatory. And this reform shows the Church embracing reason to serve revelation. Faith and science aren't enemies, they're partners in understanding God's creation. The Catechism of the Catholic Church talks about how the world is ordered by divine wisdom. Check it out, paragraphs 299 to 301. And getting time right is part of stewarding that order. Accurate calendars meant better navigation for ships, which opened up exploration and missionary work. Accurate calendars standardized trade across Europe and beyond. Accurate calendars let scientists collaborate, knowing that April 1 meant the same thing wherever you were. And think globally. Today, from Tokyo to Toledo, we share this Gregorian system. Even if there are some Greek Orthodox types that stick to the Julian calendar for church dates, for the liturgical calendar. But the new calendar, called the Gregorian calendar, after Pope Gregory XIII, who came up with it, it unified Christendom's clock and then the world's. And that was the Catholic Church shaping civilization in practical, lasting ways. A quick aside on the name. Sometimes folks mix up Gregory XIII with Gregory the Great, who were both popes, right? But Gregory XIII was the calendar guy in the Renaissance, and Gregory the Great was the 6th-century pope who reformed liturgy, sent missionaries to England, and basically held Rome together during invasions. Different guys, but the same spirit. Popes who got their hands dirty with real-world problems so that the gospel can flourish. Gregory the Great, back in the 6th century, ordered earthly chaos, but Pope Gregory XIII ordered the heavens. So, next time you jot down a date or set a calendar reminder, you're using a system, the Gregorian calendar, born from Catholic orthodoxy in action. Not because the church wanted to control you, not because the church is superstitious or whatever, but because truth matters. Both temporal truth here on earth and eternal truth. And that's the faith that we've been considering all along. So keep considering Catholicism. We'll be back with another episode very soon. And this show is 100% listener supported. My patrons keep the lights on, and they let me spend more time researching and recording so that these episodes keep coming. If this show has helped you, would you consider becoming a patron? For as little as $5 a month, you'll get every regular episode organized into topical playlists, plus exclusive bonus content, extra video Q&As, deep dive courses, live streams, and more. Just head to patreon.com/considering Catholicism or tap the link in the show notes. And would you please rate the podcast on whatever platform you're using and write a review on Apple Podcasts or on consideringcatholicism.com. And you can drop me a line. Patrons can comment directly on Patreon posts or Spotify. I read every one. Or you can always use the contact form at consideringcatholicism.com, or you can email me at consideringcatholicism@gmail.com. I love hearing your questions, your comments, and your stories.